Okay, everybody, you guys ask, I will deliver. It was not only my most upvoted comment on YouTube, but also my most frequent comment on YouTube telling me to do a tier list. So here it is. I can see why. It's very palatable, and it shows you the strengths and weaknesses, in my opinion, of every spec in this environment without having to make a video for every one, which would be exhausting. It's also very visually friendly. Like at the end of a section, you can just see all of the specs and where I put them all at once. Or while I'm talking through the strengths of something, you can see it visually on the screen with where I place them. So it's just a really understandable type of video. So I get why people want it. We'll dive right in. Of course, the prerequisites here for the list, we've got... it's very speculative, of course. There has not been a single War Within game of BG Blitz played yet because the expansion's not out. Though I've done a ton of research. I've played a lot of rated Battlegrounds for better or for worse. And I understand what should make a spec decent or good or fantastic based on their toolkit and how that strives to succeed in a BG Blitz environment. Now, of course, if you put the right player behind any class in the game, you can see them do magical things. That is always true, especially in War Within with the new hero talents. Your class toolkit is so diverse and your damage profile is so diverse that you could really find a way to just win almost with anything. But putting everything in S tier as a result would be the stupidest list anybody's ever made, so I won't be doing that. That said, if you make a case for why your class or spec should be higher based on these criteria and then put it in the comments below, I will respond to that because that would be an awesome conversation. In the last video, the top 5, people made very good cases for Mage and Warlock to be higher. And they made really informed opinions, and that was a fun conversation to have. So feel free to do that. Okay, we're diving in with the best I can give you for a tier list in BG Blitz and War Within. Okay, so starting off with Melee, we're going to do, and of course I'm just going to get DK out of the way. Frost DK S tier. It has to be. It is the definitive best melee for team fighting because it sets up goes for the rest of your team. So it enables the rest of your team without being a support class because it also has so much individual power and utility on its own. And this is what I mean. You double grip everything into a pile. AoE blind, AoE stun. You have 2 different AoE stuns, Dead of Winter and Absolute Zero. And Absolute Zero can shoot right through the entire pack and get people in the back, including healers, completely taking everybody out of the game at once. You have the most powerful unpeelable toolkit because you have IBF out of stuns, Lichborn out of everything else, AMS preventing all incoming CC, a Death's Advance making you unable to be slowed, knocked, Wraithwalk out of roots, Death Charger if you're running Rider. Then on top of all that, you still, of course, have your Trinket. You have, again, the double grip and chains. And then the blind AoE stun also makes you unpeelable because while you're doing your go, they're all locked down. If any of them Trinket, you have the second stun coming out. You do have Strang. Off global, off DR to finish off any healers that get piled into this mess. And it's a long duration, short cooldown string that lines up with every go. Your hero talent is so nuclear for your go. You're just a monster. So you're the ultimate team fighter. It's just inarguable. But in addition to that, you're also the ultimate disruptor anywhere, right? So if people are trying to leave a team fight, you can just keep them there with double grip and chains. If people are trying to get into the team fight, you can grip them out of it. Like if there's a heal, if you've killed everybody and then you Wraithwalk down the stairs in Deepwind Gorge where Market is right in the middle, and then you grip the healers away and then their team finishes the rest. I mean, you have so many options you can do. You can win 1v1s or 2v1s pretty well because of your incredible upfront damage. If they don't have CDs, you are the best at taking advantage of that because your burst can be automatic and unpeelable. It's not like they can clone you and get a moment's reprieve because you have 50 stops, right? So DK as a whole, extremely good. And I'm going to do the other 2 specs after this. But Frost, I think, has the leg up because it has 2 AoE stuns and the most on-demand AoE damage from Cleaving Strikes Obliterate. It pains me to put I think there's got to be an A+ here. Like, I could add one, but I don't think I'd put anything else. Can I just do this for like 3 seconds so people who are actually watching the video know that it's like A+? It just is all the things that I said about Frost, but without the AoE stuns. And AoE stuns in an 8-person team are really, really important. They set up the go, both your own go and your teammates' go behind you. And not having access to that would drop it a rank, I would say. But it's still a DK and it's still phenomenal. The funny thing is I would also put Blood there because while It doesn't have some of the rot pressure as Unholy or the absurd AoE burst and AoE stuns of Frost. What it does have is short cooldown grip and is completely immortal. So now you can instead lean out of the AoE stun burst category, but into the completely disruptive force of nature category. You can AoE grip as well. You've got Limb and Gorfian's Grasp, right? So you can pull everybody into a pile, death chain them, and nuke, and then you can kidnap things. And you don't even have to just kidnap the entire game, but what you could do is you could do your go, get somebody killed, and then take the other healer away. I mean, that's actually kind of brutal and disgusting. It is disgusting. I don't think I'll personally be doing that. I'll be sticking to Frost, but you could set up a go with Death Chain. It's a PvP talent for a lot of AoE damage, and then you could take some of their players out just by killing them. And then the last healer who used everything and got away now gets pulled away into Africa by the Blood DK. You can keep melee off your ranged permanently. You can keep healers into a team fight permanently or out of a team fight permanently. You are completely untargetable. You are completely unkillable. Your survivability is absolutely through the roof. It is just really disruptive. And I bet good players in BG Blitz will actually still struggle to deal with this silly spec. Okay. Other melee rather, we have DH. Havoc is S tier. It's got everything you need. It is the anti-DK, I guess, right? Where DK has anti-mobility, DH has absurd mobility. You can get anywhere you need with double Fell Rush meta. You have a movement speed increase from your mastery. You pair perfectly with a DK because you have AoE damage, AoE Mortal Strike, another AoE stun, on-demand damage, Hunt, huge burst, Essence Break, I-Beam now, huge buff to I-Beam. Your I-Beam would just pad everybody in the AoE stun. Oh my god, you would love to play with a DK. You have great self-healing. You have great defensives. You have Blur that gets you out of many things incoming because you're just going to dodge it. You have Darkness for your team. You have Reverse if you want to, but don't do it against an Aflock. You just have this unbelievable toolkit. And then where DK cannot shine, you can get to a base instantly. So if there's a base that's ghosted, you can get to it. If there's a base that could be a 2v1, if you got there, you could get to it and hunt across the map and just one-shot the guy and then capture the base. You can get back to your own bases to defend them because you are that mobile. Demon Hunter might be even S+. I would have to give it the nod over even Frost DK to just be an S+ melee. It has everything you could ever ask for out of a melee. It can move, it can do damage, it's on demand. It is everything. Did I say enough? Great. That is an S tier spec right there. It's hard to put Vengeance A because it's so overshadowed by Havoc in that situation, but Vengeance utility is absolutely insane. It has all of that mobility. It can cap bases. It can hold bases forever because it's a tank, right? So you could just find yourself like capping a base in a Fear, DH Fear. I know it's weird that they have one. And then holding it for the end of time because you are a Vengeance Demon Hunter and your survivability is so high. And if you ever got low, you could double leap away and then leap and then use one leap charge when it comes off of cooldown to get back in and spin. I mean, you have tank toolkit for defensives. You shouldn't die there ever. For running the flag, you've got double leaps, so you can kite everybody, and that's going to be difficult with the teams not being perfectly organized. They might just not have anything that can stay on you. I mean, you're so fast. So you've got the immense utility toolkit. I'm not going to put it S tier with Havoc Demon Hunter, because Havoc Demon Hunter brings also a team fight and also killing power, and that is invaluable. Even though utility is so demanding and objective, you still need to be able to kill if you want to be the ultimate S+ tier spec. Okay, so now we have things like, let's go on to Warrior, because that's another 2. I have to drop them in B, which is a little tragic. They just, right, if Demon Hunter provides the AoE Mortal Strike, then neither of these guys have that niche when Demon Hunter does it so much better, because they are more mobile. Demon Hunter is more mobile. It has more on-demand pad damage with Bloodletting and, Blade Dance, right? You can just pad everything around you. Your burst is always up as Demon Hunter. Sorry, I'm talking more about Demon Hunter than I am talking about Warrior. But the idea is that Warrior is an AoE Mortal Strike class. Even Fury, like you can AoE Rampage and put Slaughterhouse stacks on multiple people, but it's just not nearly as reliable. They're easily peeled. They are not quite as survivable, but they have nuclear AoE burst damage. So if you pair them, again, with the DK is the enabler, I'm telling you, that's why it's S. If you pair them with a DK, you can just have the big Slayer or whatever hero talents. I think it's going to be Slayer, but whatever hero talents Warrior are running, the big AoE one-shot with all their sweeping strikes and their whirlwind rampage and all of this nuclear stuff. That is just going to be really, really good for Goes. But when you compare them to Demon Hunter, you compare them so unfavorably. And I don't know what else they would bring. They have War Banner, and they have a decent buff with commanding Battlefield Commander. Yeah, so they have some decent utility. They're almost like a support with War Banner and Intervene and Rally. They're almost like a support melee, but I don't know if that role is all that integral, because if you don't have a team organized to be a melee cleave that needs a warrior, then I think you would just prefer the other melee. Okay, so I think I explained that pretty well as to why they're B, but if you have a good reason why they should be A, I'd love to hear it. If you have them S, convince me. Wow, that would be crazy. I'm not sure if they've ever been that, but RPGs have been around a long time. I'm sure there's been a time. Ret is also kind of feeling B tier to me. It's squishy, actually, believe it or not, because it's major defensive, could be taken off by a million different things. You could just throw an MD in there from a Shadow, a Disc, a Holy. You can cleave. You can kind of pad. I'm not sure if I would consider it as a pad melee as Unholy or Demon Hunter, but you could definitely throw out a lot of AoE damage. You have Hodge, but people are generally on stun DR, and your stun is dispellable. Again, you have Bubble, but that is your major defensive in this situation, and it's just, if it gets taken off, you're just kill target the entire time. Everybody would go red. That's my history. Now, things change, right? And the hero talents could change this. I mean, they're going to have a ret prot and a red holy. So hero talents could absolutely change this mantra, and I could be wrong here. But the idea is that they've always been kill target. And I'm not sure they have the reward, a risk-reward system. I'm not sure they have the reward to undergo the risk. Their toolkit is phenomenal for arena. Sank, sack. These are buttons that, in an arena, they can completely change an enemy's go. In RBGs, you sack somebody, and now you're just taking even more damage because everybody's taking damage, right? You can't really stop a go when an RBG team fight is a permanent go. And if you're stopping a go like a Frosty K go, then you are dead. So I would give them a comfortable B. If this was an arena tier list, we'd probably be doing this, but I'm not making that right now. I'll make that soon, I promise. Okay, so Windwalker, unfortunately, is C. I think Windwalker is an amazing spec, and I think if you put it in the right hands, then people are scared of Windwalker, but their defensive toolkit is rough for, kind of like Warrior, the defensive toolkit is a little rough for RBGs. Instead of a bunch of self-healing, they kind of need to get out, kite, port out. Their karma can be taken off by a lot of things, or can just be melted through. Their damage is peelable. You can CC Windwalker very well, unlike DK Demon Hunter. Their mobility is fantastic. I just don't really know what they would do with it. I guess you could be a 1v1 Windwalker, and if you're the best 1v1 Windwalker in the game, I'd probably put this A tier, but I mean, man, then you're just trying to be a rogue, and rogue is better rogue than Windwalker is rogue, right? That has to be true. That has to be true. So, it's like, what does it bring? It has a bunch of AoE burst, so much, but it's so peelable. And there are other melee with AoE burst that is not peelable at all. It has a Mortal Strike, but it's single target, while, again, Demon Hunter is AoE, and even Fury Warrior is AoE single, Mortal Strike, rather. It has CC in the form of Leg Sweep. Para is probably broken instantly. I'm just trying to find where it excels over the other melee. Again, just tell me. Tell me if you are the best Windwalker in the game, and you have an answer for all of these things. I do think it could be a 1v1er off point, because, man, Windwalker single target burst and 1v1 potential is actually insanely hard. Beating a Windwalker in a 1v1 is very hard. So if there's a room for it just using double roll Flying Serpent Kick to get to a base and 1v1 them, let me know. But what if they run into a rogue there? Isn't a rogue going to be there? Then that's the only thing they don't beat, and they couldn't stealth to get there. See that? Okay, I know I've taken a long time, but I really have to. This is a C tier. That's a bad rating. So I know people are going to be frustrated, but listen to this. How do you properly attack a base? Flying Serpent Kicking over to it. I mean, if you get to high MMR, then they're going to be like, Windwalker, coming to this space. And then you just get Rogue Boomied, right? Kidney, you trinket, trip, half cheap, quarter cheap, Boomkin Incarn, you're dead instantly. And all you did is Flying Serpent Kick into an immediate death. So good players should be able to take advantage of that toolkit because they don't even have stealth to make the 1v1s happen. Okay, that's my argument. Let's hear yours. Windwalker at C tier. Survival's very weird. It is a hunter spec, which means you could probably set a base. It has decent defensive toolkit and a pet. It can 1v1 pretty well. You can chuck bombs at players from afar while trying to kite, so you can 1v1. You can kite around the pillar in circles at Mage Tower. You've just got a weird toolkit for sure. I think maybe B is high, but you can chuck bombs into AoE, and if they have a really good bomb-enabling hero talent set, which I haven't got a chance to look at, then they would probably actually have weird AoE pod damage from a range, which is not even a melee, almost. I mean, this shouldn't even be in the melee section sometimes with how survival is played. But it is technically a melee, and it has a big old staff, right? I would stuff it at a very hesitant B tier because it's very difficult to pin down exactly what survival does, but it should sit a base. It could probably 1v1 a base. Oh, you know what? I argue myself. It could cap a base, stun Diamond Ice. It's even unbreakable. I mean, your teammates couldn't even mess it up for you. You could go cap a base, and then you could hold it because you're a good base hitter. And then you could even apply some team fight pressure by camoing in there and hucking bombs and then sprinting back with your pet to guard the base. Okay, I like this spot. It could even be a little higher with what I just convinced myself of, but let's keep it there. Okay, that's good. Enhanced D-tier, damn. Sorry, enhanced mains, yeah. Okay, yeah, it's really bad. It has been bad forever, so this is a very safe bet. If this is the one time it's good, then fantastic. Congratulations, enhanced mains. You win. But it has none of the things that make it good in RBGs. Its defensives are weird. The utility it brings are better brought by Ellie and even our Shaman, like things like Grounding Totem or Static Cling. Static Cling is cool, but Frosty K is so much better. You have the worst AoE damage toolkit as a melee possible. You just don't really have that type of toolkit. You get CC'd so easily. You get targeted so easily after wall. You do not win 1v1s against the 1v1ing specs. I'm sure you could beat your friend in a 1v1 pretty well. But I don't know if in an RBG, like you get the high MMR and now you're going against a 1v1 spec and you're like, I'm an enhance. I'm going to run over to the base and get opened on by a sub-rogue. I mean, what are you doing? Your self-healing toolkit was really bad before in RBGs, but now if they've buffed it, maybe Healing Stream and Healing Surge could add sub-benefit. It's just like your utility doesn't belong in RBGs. Your damage profile is really bad for RBGs. Your 1v1 potential and at a base is so bad for RBGs. Again, I'm sure you've beaten your friend with Ascendance in a one-shot, but I just don't. I mean, you have to get opened on. You're an enhance running at a base. You have no mobility for that either. Yeah, no to enhance, sorry. That's okay. Now we're talking about the one I mean S++, right? Sorry, I pulled that way up. S++++. Sub-rogue. It does everything that it was like the antithesis of everything I was just talking about. It is the one that kills you. It is the one that 1v1s you. It's the one that steals your base with unbelievable CC toolkit. It can cap on 2 people at the same time, or it could 2v3 cap on people because you could stun one, blind the other, and then shadowy duel the third guy. And if you have one other teammate, right, to cap while you're shadowy dueling, you could actually just cap on 3 people at the same time. I mean, your ability to punish no trinket is good everywhere. It's good at a base. You can hold the base because you have stealth and sap from stealth and then blind, and then you can open with cheap, and then you can vanish, and then you can open with cheap again, and then you can vanish again, then you get evasion, you can cloak, and they can't kill you ever, and you're never going to cap the base from the rogue. Oh, and if there's no trinkets in the team fight, they can run in there, blind a healer, kidney the other, then maybe he has trinket, and then you're cheap at half, and then you're cheap at quarter, and then you gouge him, and now they have no healers for that entire part of the team fight, and everybody dies, and then you go right back to your base and you hold it. I mean, what is this spec? Of course it's good. Of course it's good. It wins every 1v1. It caps every base. It can hold 1v2 for a while with multiple outs, multiple vanishes, multiple cooldown resets. It is squishy in the fact that if it has nothing, you can kill it. But the whole point is they'll be sitting at their base in stealth, and their cooldowns will come back up. And they'll sap you 3 times and then blind you. And then any cooldowns they didn't have are back up now because they just got to sap you 3 times and blind you. And if you trinket any of it, you're getting cheaped and you're going to die. So that's a good spec for sure. Now we have Assassination Rogue, which has a very similar toolkit, but without the Shadow Dance and without the Shadowy Duel. But what it adds is AoE Silence, AoE Garrote Silence, AoE Bleeds, AoE Shiv for an AoE Mortal Strike while everybody takes more bleeds damage. It's like more of a team fighter rogue. It can still take a base or defend a base when it needs to, but its pressure in team fight cannot be ignored. AoE Silence, a lot of classes don't have silence, so it's just constant disruption on healers and casters, making them not able to cast because they're just groated. You can still put a kidney on a kill target with Death Mark and Shiv, AoE Shiv, and just everybody starts taking the most bleed damage. You're a huge enabler, and this is another reason, by the way, why Arms and Fury are down here. Because this has an AoE Mortal Strike and AoE Bleeds and AoE Pressure and Kidney Shot, right? So, I mean, this is a nice place for a warrior. Like, that's probably being pretty generous because look at these specs and what they bring. I wonder if other tier lists are saying what I'm saying. I'm wondering if you hear my rationale. Outlaw. And agree with it. Outlaw. Goodness. So it's a rogue spec, but it is trumped by sub in every way. Can I put an asterisk on this? Like, it's a rogue spec, so it should be at least B tier. But it is a rogue spec that has another spec that does everything it could ever do better. I have to put it C tier because of that line. It is a rogue spec, so it's B tier. But sub-rogue exists, so it's C tier. It just has to be. There is nothing that Outlaw can do in an RBG environment right now that sub couldn't do better. It does not have Shadow Dance, right? They took that out for both the other specs. They brought that only to sub. It does not have Shadowy Duel. It does not have access to the same urgency of stun toolkit that sub has. Sub has the best at that by far. It does not have the AoE damage, AoE Shiv that Assassin has. It doesn't have the AoE Bleeds, the AoE Silence. Just spamming Garrote is so valuable as that. It doesn't have that either. It has Blade Flurry, which is as ineffective in an RBG environment as it can be unless the spec is overtuned damage-wise. But I've heard people complaining that it's not. So that argue against that, I guess you would have to, because I'm putting it at C. I'm so sorry. Okay, so we've got some people's favorite classes all the way up here at the top. We have some at, I think, a very respectable B. Finally, we have Feral, which should just be A. Because it does what Assassin Rogue does, where it could cap a base, it could sit a base, and it also has an AoE pad bleed build now. So it really is just a sass. I mean, you take out the silence, but you might have a little bit more pad damage, because sometimes Feral goes through this period, and I think this is one of those times, where it can just rip everybody, tear unto wounds, this entire just a team. It just all of a sudden, when it gets its bleeds on everybody and just starts spamming the AoE rip thing, it just does like Boomkin pad, but in the form of bleeds and physical damage. Feral goes through periods where it can either do that or it can't do that, and I think this is one of the periods where it can. It can cap a base and hold a base, and it's very tanky with bear form. So it's like a sass. It's a sass. It's not as good as sub, but it's a sass. That's a fair point. That's a fair position, I would say, for that. Okay, so that is it, right? That's the melee. I think I got him. Okay, so now we're going to do ranged DPS. Take a look at it. Again, I offered up so many points where you could argue your own class or spec in the comments, and I will respond to it in the most courteous, hopefully, and conversational way that I can, because I'm just interested. I mean, look at how many specs there are. Who among us is going to get it perfect? I'm not sure. But this looks good to me. God, I don't know. That looks really good to me. All right, we're going on to ranged. I gave you the time to digest it. So now we're going on to range. We'll start with Boom. It's an S tier spec. I think it's been an S tier spec in RBGs since the dawn of time. It can cap bases. It really can. It can just go cap them because it has the same CC toolkit that it needs to cap them as Feral does. You just clone people and get their base. You are really good at spinning because of your really long range spells. And then you can just get re-stealths. And then you can put Treants on the flag. And then you can get re-stealths again. And then you can spin with Moonfire from 95 yards away. Not exactly 95. That was called hyperbole. But all of that is fantastic for sitting and assaulting a base. But then you go into team fight and you're a force. I mean, you're just a force. Boomkin does the most pad damage in the game. If you go into the history of RBGs, especially in like Shadowlands and even Dragonfly at a BFA for sure. If you put a team fight Boomkin Anywhere below like S plus tier for overall damage output, you're crazy. It just does so much damage. It has pad, it has starfall, it has star burst. It can knock people into the air, it can CC them forever. It is the most powerful clone, CC rather, with clone because it doesn't break and they just have to trinket if they need to. If they need to get out of that CC, they just have to trinket because nobody's breaking it because it's unbreakable. You have instant cast Starburst, or Star Surge rather, to apply pressure to any target that is in a stun or in a kidney. You can just automatically be a difference maker anywhere you are. I mean, God forbid going after FCs. I probably should have talked about that with Sub and SS as well. They're just fantastic at just going after FCs. Put them in a kidney and have a Boomkin there, and you've got Incarn Deathmark or Incarn Shadow Dance, and it's just... They can make a difference anywhere. Anywhere, any map, anytime. Boomkin S tier. They're so good. Devastation actually S tier as well. I think this is maybe like controversial. I don't know, because we haven't had a lot of time to showcase the power of... I don't think RPGs were that popular in Dragonflight, so we didn't really get to see how good this was. But in a Battleground Blitz environment, the emphasis is on the Blitz, where they need to be fast, right? You need to be impactful immediately, and you need to be mobile. Like, you need to actually move your character fast, and nothing does that better than Devastation. As far as DPS goes, they're the most mobile because they have double hover, which is lurch you forward and give you a ton of movement speed, and you can even buff the movement speed to be even higher. But then it also makes you unslowable, and that's the ticket. Using your massive movement ability on a second or 2-charge system where it also makes you immune to future slows. I mean, there you go. That's mobility in a nutshell. You just have hover, and now you give hover to any class in the game, and they're the most mobile class in the game. I mean, that's just crazy. So fast. It even has the fell rush effect where it pulls you forward, right? And now you're immune to slows. So you could just get anywhere you need to. You could go to a... So here's the thing now. What do you do when you get there? Well, great news. You're a Devastation Dragon. So you have single target burst from shooting laser beams with Dragon Rage, and you have AoE burst with Deep Breath, Fire Breath, AoE Eternity Surge. Oh my gosh, right? You can, when you get to that base, you can vaporize somebody and help you win a 2v1 or a 2v2 when you get there if your base is under attack, or you're trying to get a base and you just need to finish off the last guy. Or you can get into the team fight and immediately swing the favor. Remember, DK is S tier 2 in this mindset of mine. So DK Dragon Go, AoE stun everybody, AoE stun them again after, AoE Eternity Surge, AoE instant cast Fire Breath with Tip the Scales. Yeah, that just changes a team fight. It changes a skirmish on points. It is S tier. I'm sure of it. And if I'm wrong, darn, but like, I mean, you guys, right? I'm not wrong though. It's really good. Okay, great. We're gonna go to Marks, and I'm also giving that S tier. For totally different reasons. Instead of being hyper mobile, it's hyper ranged. Their mastery is unlike anything else in the game, where, well, it's kind of like DH mastery, but in a totally different effect. You get a secondary effect from your mastery, but this one is ranged on your abilities. And when you combine that with Sniper Shot, now you have the most range out of anybody, and that one is not hyperbole. So let me say that again. You have the most range on your abilities out of any class, and that is not hyperbole, which means they cannot affect you. So if you are on Temple, Temple of the Orb map, and you need to kill an orb carrier and your team is falling behind a little bit, but those orb carriers have high stacks, you can do it from anywhere on the map out of stealth with Marksman single target burst. The only reason they seem bad right now is because everybody has 65% armor. I want you to remember that when you're thinking about this guide. Classes in pre-patch have 65% armor if they're a good armor class, which makes them do 65% less physical damage. When the actual expansion comes out, and we're back down to 25%, Marksman Burst is going to be powerful. Its single target is going to be obscene. It can do it from anywhere on the map, and it can do it from camo. So if you need to pick off somebody, again, skirmish somebody, you can do it from 60 yards out. Not real. Well, if you get the Sniper Shot, yeah, I think you can get it from 60 yards out. I think Sniper Shot plus Mastery equals 60 yard. Yeah, sure. I could see that. Somebody do the math in chat for me, in the comments for me. You can do that to a team fight. You could do it to a healer. If there's a healer low in team fight and they're stunned, and all of a sudden they're like, I could probably get out of this. And then they get Sniper Shot, Rapid Fire, Marksman Burst with their new hero talents, just like an actual machine gun. It's like you're playing Call of Duty, not World of Warcraft. Like you could actually just take somebody out of the game, right? And that's really powerful at any base. They can do it from far away. It's just a unique mechanic to be able to do that from farther than anybody can interact with you. How do they CC or go if your range is higher than theirs? They have to overextend to you. And now your entire team just goes, oh, look at this guy. He's running into our, yeah, okay, we'll just kill him, right? Marksman, if played well, S tier. If played well, S tier. Okay, so the other hunter spec, this is weird because I gave it a glowing review in my top 5 video. This does not change that glowing review at all. The problem is it's a very powerful option for hunters to have if you just always want to sit a base, but that's all they can do. BM Hunter, notoriously bad AoE pad for a long time. That could finally change in War Within, but you know, I have to be speculative here. Notoriously bad single target burst. Now its single target sustain is great. It is great. So if you're actually just training an FC, you could chase them across the entire map and your damage would never end, and you could just solo them. But your single target burst and your single target and your AoE pad and your AoE burst, well, don't even get me started. AoE burst for BM has to be the worst in the game, right? In an RBG setting, they're not an AoE burst class. That's not what they are in RBGs. Maybe that's different in PvE. It's not different in RBGs. So why I say all that is because I still give them a glowing review for what they do, but that's only one part of the game. So if you are able to sit on a base the entire time and your team is doing really well in team fight and all you need to do is hold the base to win, you could do that. You can absolutely do that because you spin with your pets and you kite and your pets kill them, and you have multiple walls, and you have turtle, and you have great mobility to get out. You can disengage, you can cheetah, you can be unstoppable, right? In a 1v1 scenario, they just can't touch you while they try and cap, but they can't because they can't CC cap and they can't kill you, and they're just dying to your pets, right? You're perfect for that. But if you need to go anywhere else to win the game, I don't know that you're the best spec for that. I catch you B tier, like you could maybe cap a base like Survival could. That's what I think. There you go. That is my review of BM Hunter. Let me know if you have a team fight BM Hunter build that can put this up to A tier. I haven't personally seen one. Okay, finally we get to all of the mage specs. So Frost, man, is that crazy? Frost A tier seems okay. It's got crazy utility with Ice Wall. It has really, really good priority spells with like Glacial Spike and some of the new Frostfire stuff. So they could be a difference maker in team fight. They can pad. Oh, they slow. Yeah, A tier is good. They AoE slow. They AoE root. You can put blizzards down and frozen orbs down and root everybody and keep them stuck in a place, keep them sluggish and like they're walking through molasses. They can't move. They can't get where they need to get. You're still bursting them with Glacial Spike and your Frostfire goes. You have Poly on a healer if you absolutely need to. It can heal somebody full if you're not running the PvP talent. It can also break instantly, but it's there and it's an option. You can see C-cap with Polymorph. Now that's big. Maybe it's S. Guys, is Frost Mage S tier? Is it? Right? Because it can, oh my God, dude. I think it can cap a node. It can defend a node with double block, with kiting, with barriers, with really good roots for self-peeling itself to get, and it can sit in both blocks so somebody gets there in case it turns into a 2v1. It can team fight well. I think the people who made the claim, if you're there in the comments, the people who said Frost Mage maybe or Mage could be at the top 5, I think you might be right. I think Frost Mage is S. I'm going to give it the S nod because I think of complete diversity of toolkit, like double block, and then Ice Wall, and then Glacial Spike, right? It has a little something for every situation. I would not give that nod to Fire Arcane because they don't have the exact same diversity. Like Fire Mage is just squishy. Arcane Mage isn't right now, but I think it's because of overtuned self-healing things that they probably won't have the entire expansion. I think they're just new and thus overtuned. I could give Arcane... This is so hard. This is the hardest one to do. I feel like Fire Mage is B because it's squishy. And it has really good burst and pad, but I don't know. Maybe the Living Bomb set too. This is the hardest one. It really is. I even did research on where I wanted Mage to be, and I'm still second guessing myself. I had it B, and I wanted A because it's got this living bomb toolkit, which is not as crazy as it was in Dragonflight, but it's got all these things that can help spread and put up new living bombs, which would then cleave really hard. No, it doesn't have the toolkit for. I'm staying B. It can't do what Frost can do, where it can do all of that and then also have the double block and the better peels and the on-demand point of importance, right? So Glacial Spike takes all the pressure off of everybody, because if they're not going mage, then he's doing everything. And if they are going mage, then the healers do whatever they want, right? He's got that importance, right? You have to look at the mage. But wait, now the healers, we can't kill anything because the healers are free casting. I'm gonna stick with this. This is what I'm gonna stick with. I think Frost has that diversity of tool set that gives it the huge nod. Double block, impactful spells, high importance spells, massive AoE damage. Look, Frost Mage has AoE slows, AoE roots, frozen orb, blizzard. It's the perfect RBG toolkit. It's everything you want. Slows, disruption. Okay, I convinced myself. Frost Mage S tier. The other two mage specs just don't have that level of RBG prowess, I would say, and thus are B. Argue that in the comments. I will listen, because Frost Mage is only S tier because of a comment I got on the other video. So congratulations to you. It's got to be. Okay, sorry. Spent a lot of time with that. Really important for me to get everything where I really want it. Okay, so now, of course, we have to go on to all three lock specs. This one is equally as hard. I had Destro A. I'm going to make a distinction for you right now. Destro, I think, is the highest secondary stat. Or sorry, no, Lock is the highest secondary stats scaling class in the game. Is that true? I think you guys would agree with that. What that means is the more secondary stats they get blown out of proportion. Aflock, for sure. Aflock is so powerful. It is so much pad. It is so unstoppable damage when they have the haste for it. But at the beginning of an expansion, when they don't have all of those secondary stats, it's like that's a really important distinction. Like, can Destro get a cast off without all the haste that it has late? Like I'm feeling this. Okay, and let's talk about Demo first. So Demo is not good in RBGs through the entire history of the rated Battleground bracket, because what it does is summons a bunch of extremely peelable sources of damage, right? In arenas, it's a monster. But when you put it into an RBG, you now have more pseudos, 5 more players, and in RBGs it was 7, but 5 more players of pseudo CC, AoE CC, blizzards on the point, rooting your pets, AoE stunning your pets, AoE blinding your pets, AoE disorienting your pets, rooting your pet again, killing your pet from all the damage out. Demo has so many ways of getting all of their damage taken away from them in a team fight. I mean, it would probably sit a base, but why are you sitting a base with a lock? They're just going to get bursted, right? Like, why wouldn't you sit it with a hunter or a feral or a frost mage or, a rogue? A rogue. Like, let's sit it with a rogue. What happens when a rogue boomy needs a base from a lock and opens on the lock? What does the lock do now? So I don't know if lock is the best base sitter, and you're really wasting some of its team fight utility by sitting them in a base. And then Demo has the worst team fight damage profile that you could possibly have, because it summons a whole bunch of things that do not get to do anything because it's rated freaking Battlegrounds. So Demo has to be D. But maybe hero talents. I also think Diabolist is the best arena hero talent setup in the game. So maybe there's a universe where, let's see how that one goes. This could age poorly, but I have to be diligent or I'm making a boring video. Destro, I think, goes to, here's the next point of lock. So Aflock goes to S with secondary stats, and Destro goes to A with secondary stats, right? That's not even controversial. Aflock is traditionally insanely good in RBGs. It dots everybody, it slows everybody, it rots everybody, it makes them unable to do anything, it brings lock utility, you have gate, you have Healthstone, you have port, you can get into and out of a situation, you will enable your entire team to get into and out of a situation with Demonic Gateway. I mean, just from that alone, I guess you could put it S tier, but I feel like it's premier kill target number 1, and disruption target number 1 when you don't have haste. Like, I feel like Aflock and Destro hate not having the secondary stats that you get later in the expansion because you just can't get anything off, and then you're kind of just fodder boy, right? That is, I feel like, not even controversial. You do this when they get season 2 gear maybe, and then they're like that for the rest of the expansion. That, I feel like that's fair. They have an amazing utility, team-wide utility toolkit, and both of their damage profiles are fantastic when they get the ability to use it. Okay, so Shadow Priest has gone through, wow, so much. Sometimes it's S, sometimes it's D, sometimes it just gets all of its stuff dispelled by Revival and Mass Dispel, and its backlash is only a fear. So, you know how if you take a Aflock backlash, each individual instance of a dispel makes it more and more bad that you dispelled it because you take all the damage from every dispel individually. Shadow Priest does not do that because it's a fear. So you get all the fears at the same time, and all you do is get feared once, right? So if you MD Aflock dots, you die instantly. If you MD Shadow Priest dots, you get feared for 2 seconds. Oh no, right? Like so Shadow Priest Dispel Protection in RBG situation is very bad. Of course, you compare it with an Aflock, but this is Battleground Blitz. You don't get to choose your partners. If you don't have an Aflock, its Dispel Protection is really, really bad. It's a good train target. It's survivable in Arena, but only because it can rotate defensives pretty well. And RBGs, it's very difficult to rotate defensives because now you have 5 DPS that could be hitting you, and 3 of them could be melee. It has been S tier before. Cascade in Warlords of Draenor, I'm showing my age right now, was like 70,000 numbers on your screen, and you just pressed one button and it just bounced to everybody. You were top damage every game. It has also been D tier before. There has been RBG seasons where you just couldn't bring an S-Priest because all they would do is walk in and die. I don't know where it's going to be right now. I wonder if anybody does. I could really be like so boring and say B tier, and it's just like free to just say, it's meh, right? It's kind of giving me C tier vibes because of the sheer power of like Devi and Boomy and even maybe Aflock. Oh, Jesus, this is hard. Dude, I hate that. I hate putting it C tier. It's a Shadow Priest. It can rob people. It's got decent utility. It's got team-wide utility. Let's say B. I'm sorry. I took the boring way. I took the easy way out. There's like nothing in C tier. This is a very big B tier. I could maybe move Fury down there. All of these classes, though, have potential, man. I'm sticking with what I have. Okay, let's go on to healers. Oh, that was... Oh, no, we got Ellie. Oh, Ellie is like really good. Ellie's damage profile and pad is so good, but off points and in skirmishes, it's not good. It looks like it would be insane from pre-patch because it's freaking overtuned in every way and has secondary stat scaling through the absolute roof. But you take that away from it, and there's no way it's a 1v1 class. It's not a skirmisher, right? You can't do anything with Ellie off point unless you're just 10 times better than them. And if you are, that's awesome. Then good for you. You're great. But if they're as good as you playing a skirmisher, aren't you in trouble? I mean, so Ellie has this unbelievable damage profile and it has knock. Ooh, it has knock though. It has knock. Damn. Another hard one, huh? This is a great list. I'm glad I did this. Great damage profile. Good pad from AoE Flame Shock. Great AoE Burst. Fires it off instantly. Very difficult to peel or to disrupt because it's generally all instant cast. Now it's going to be way better at that at the end of the expansion. We have 40% haste and way less good when you have 10% haste. So I'll just keep it A then. The secondary stats bring it off of S, but the knock and the tremor totem and the AoE burst and the freaking knock again, that keep it above B. That's a good spot for Ellie, right? And then as the expansion goes on, it'll also migrate up to S tier probably unless they nerf it. Okay, now we can go on to healers. Mistweaver S. What doesn't it have? Holy cow. I mean, Mistweaver almost made onto the top 5 RBG, Monk onto the top 5 RBG, but the problem is it's the only spec that's going to be up there. So it can't be because that was a top 5 BG Blitz classes list. You can go check that video out. I've talked about it like 5 times. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's just the last couple of videos on my channel, back 2 or so. Anyway, what doesn't this have? It has AoE Revival, a complete team-wide immunity, full heal, effectively, in a team fight where if you are in any trouble at all, no matter what situation you're in, you can reverse it. You can just immune them, take everything off of them, and heal them. That makes every situation, no matter how bad it is, savable as long as you have revival up. Is an extremely powerful cooldown in Cocoon for both getting back to a base and cocooning the base sitter, and now they're completely fine, and you're allowed to probably just go back because now the team fight is winning, or rather the skirmish is winning, and you can get back to the team fight to help that be winning. You can do it on FC to keep them alive, of course. I mean, that's just a fantastic panic button that doesn't really overwrite. It's not like you're stacking defensives. Like if you pain sub somebody and iron bark somebody, then you've kind of stacked defensives. But Life Cocoon just gives you this shield that also tops them because it increases all your healing done to them. So it's just like a you're okay button against all possible odds until they have like a million stacks. It has mobility, right? Of course, it has double roll or triple roll. It can get anywhere it needs to. It can immediately make an impact with revival. So if you double roll into a team fight and you're just about to lose it, revival and your entire team could be fine. You have great sustained healing. You have pretty good AoE healing, not quite as good as some of the other ones on this list, but revival, cocoon, port, double roll. You've got mobility. You've got the utility you need. You've got ROP to knock people off edge. You've got an AoE sweep to peel melee off of you. Yeah, that's the toolkit for RBGs, right? I guess the answer for what can't it can do is pad heal as much as our druid or press, right? That's what it can't do. But as far as what I just said, there's almost no other specs that can bring what it just brought in those. Okay, so there you go. Our druid also S tier, and you know what? No, I'll get it in a second. Our druid S tier. I talked about it in my top 5 classes video. It is mobile. It can cap bases. It can hold bases. It can immediately impact a team fight with tree form and instant heals and AoE healing. It has the AoE healing that Mistweaver does not have. After revival is down, our druid still has more AoE healing. You have treants, you have wild growth, instant cost regrowth over and over and over. You have hots on everybody. You can hot a flag carrier, and then they can kite away from you and kite away from the DPS killing them, but your hots are still going to keep them alive, so then you can get to the kiting point, right? Or get to a cap. You don't worry about things outranging you if you have them fully hotted because they can go where they need to go and your heals will still heal them. You have fantastic mobility, like I said, to get into and out of the team fight. You have stealth to be anywhere you need to without being able to be peeled on the way there from DKs or rogues off point. Again, you could capture a base in our druid and you could hold a base as an our druid because you could cap it with clone and then just heal yourself. Right? And you can make one of their cap conditions completely obsolete by being unkillable because a 1v1 versus a healer you should never lose as a healer. Of course, you can get CC capped on, but then you might be able to CC cap back because they weren't able to kill you, right? If they can't kill you, they don't have that condition, right? So our druid S tier. And then Prez, S tier, right? For all the reason that Devastation was S tier, except the healer version. It has that double hover and is immune to slows during it, so it can be anywhere it needs to be. But instead of turning a fight by killing the player, you turn a fight by healing the player, right? And that is extremely important because there's only two heals in an RBG, or in a Battleground Blitz, rather. It's 8 man, okay? It's 2 healers, 6 DPS, or a tank in there. And that means healers are extremely important, and that means a healer being where they need to be is extremely important. And if you cannot peel the Prez for getting to where it needs to be because of double hover immunity, then it's going to be where it needs to be, and that's fantastic as a healer with fantastic single target throughput, fantastic AoE throughput, revival, which is a massive cooldown. It can even help goes with oppressing roar and deep breath. It can help goes with AoE purge on everybody. If there's an enemy druid, all of a sudden you clean all of his hots off. Dang, he's screwed. You have decent single target damage if it's like a 3v3 and you just need to, their healer's almost dead and you contribute a kill. And then the other 2 guys are doomed because they have no healer. So it's 3v2 with 3 DPS on them because the Prez can do damage at a moment's notice as they have that toolkit. They're good impact, high damage, fantastic utility, unbelievable mobility, great single target throughput, great AoE throughput, Prez at S tier. All right, so it looks like every healer is S tier, right? Enter Priest. So Disc is a great healer. Atonement healing, it's almost a B tier healer strictly because of how good of a healer it is. It's got extra damage to snowball a team fight and throughput with Atonement. So you can actually heal everybody while doing damage to players and contributing to goes. That's amazing. So why is it C? It can't get anywhere. Priest has the worst mobility almost in the entire game, which is why probably Shadow I should have been ballsy and put Shadow down here too. So foolish not doing that. I might do it at the end. It can't get anywhere. You could get effectively ruined by a Death Knight. Just done. You just do not get to play BG Blitz. I'm almost scared that BG Blitz, all disc free, stop queuing, because if they ever see a DK, they would just leave. Like, oh my god, you saw blood DK. Oh no. If you saw blood DK, you would actually just leave the lobby because you don't get to play. You cannot escape slows, CC. You don't have any good CC protection. You don't have immunities to slows. You don't have quick movement options like port double roll. You don't have stealth. You have to cast. You just can't move. And you can get completely locked out of the game by CC as well because you don't have any NCCC stuff. You don't have Nullifying Shroud. You don't have immunities. You don't have stealth again. You don't have anything to be able to play BG Blitz. When you can play BG Blitz in a team fight that's stationary, you're fantastic. You have good utility. You have good defenses. You have Dome. For Dome on a point, that's fantastic. Go Disruption. You have an AoE defensive. You have decent self-survivability, and you have great throughput while snowballing pressure. So if the game was just 8v8 Slayer on a map, right? Like, you would be so great, but you cannot get to anywhere you need it. Forget about peeling back to a base. You could never get there. And forget about getting into a base if there's a Blood DK or a Rogue trying to make it so you don't get there. You just could never do it. So, I mean, gosh, man, it's so hard because, like, disc is so fun and its throughput is so high. But what am I doing putting it at B or A? I mean, that would be insane. It can't move. One Blood DK says to that BG Blitz, your disc is no longer a part of this Battleground Blitz. It's like it's a 7v7, but that means we have 6 DPS and 5 DPS and 2 healers versus your 6 DPS and 1 healer. But one healer can't heal 6 DPS. They can't. So that means the team fight is unwinnable. One healer trying to heal 6 people at the same time. I mean, imagine you being that healer. I almost pity you being in that situation. And Holy Priest is D. Where Disc has all of that atonement-based throughput stuff, Holy can do damage but does not heal while doing it. And in a team fight, when you are 2 healers against, again, potentially all of these DPS 4 or 5, I said 6 in the other one, but there's never going to be a situation where you've got a full 8-man team fight, so let me amend that statement. That was just a numbers game showing how difficult it would be to heal all these people on a BG Blitz while you are doing it by yourself. Of course, team fights will be smaller than that. But regardless, there's still a lot of DPS doing a lot of damage, patting as hard as possible. So you can't really go on the offensive because then you're not healing because Disc does it with Atonement, but Holy doesn't. Their cooldowns are great for an arena situation, but I don't think they're that great for RBGs. It doesn't give them a ton of AoE throughput except for Form, which makes them unpeelable, which is fantastic. But their single target-based healing cooldowns are not good because their AoE toolkit is kind of lacking and they suffer from all the problems from Disc, right? So instead of like getting it double roll and then getting back to their port that they set mid and pressing Revival, the Holy Priest is just like waddling back there and then has Form to start doing a lot of it. Like, let me run down the situation, and then all the Holy Priests that just dislike this video, and for a good reason. I put their spec really low and I'm sorry. Let me run down a situation. You're getting back from a base, or you're spawning, and you're getting to a team fight that's losing. If you're a Mistweaver Monk and you double roll in press Revival, that team fight is now completely stationary because you made them all immune, full heal, and then you can just start bombing out your fantastic healing throughput. If a Holy Priest has to get there slowly, the team starts dying even further. Now they're even less recoverable. Then you get in there and you're going to get CC'd, right? So you have to Form because you're going to get CC'd. And then you trinket and you get re-CC'd, and now your entire team is dead anyway because they were so low by the time you waddled over there. So you press Form, and now you're not, and now you have to start healing. And then as you do that, everybody, you don't have that much haste in the season 1. Everybody is dying. You pick one guy to start bombing heals into, and then 2 other people die next to him. You come out of Form and you've got 1 guy left with you, the guy you were able to save, right? That is my guess. I could be totally freaking wrong, man. I could. but you're going to have to convince me of it in the comments. There's no other way. Because that's my own person. If they can't get to a base and they can't get to the team fight and they don't have insane AoE cooldowns like Revival or our Druid Tree form or Rewind, the dragon one. Hopefully I said that right when I was talking about dragon. It's tough. H-Pal. They have Freedom Steed. They have Freedom Steed, so at least they can get out of quad grip from Blood DK. They have heals. They have bubble, and they probably have some utility. They can pop casters. They can aura mastery AoE, like with Con's aura and aura mastery. They can make you all immune to getting kicks. They would be a easy kill target for half the roster. Like swap H-Pal and this go. Oh, he's dead, right? Oh, I'm being unfair to Holy Priest by putting them above them, right? Swap H-Pal in this kitty, he's dead. Gripping H-Pal in, swap him, he's dead. They have a lot of instant casts, though. They have a lot of instant casts. And they have decent team-wide utility with Consora. And they have Bubble if they're getting swapped to. They have it exactly once, but they have it. They don't bring any offensive utility besides Hodge, which pushing in for a Hodge is ridiculous. They can get out, though. Holy Priest, you know what? I have to give it the nod because if you kidnap a priest, they're on at least the same level of disc because you Freedom State. You just can't kidnap an H-Pal as well as you can kidnap a disc. You can swap an H-Pal easier than you can swap a disc, I'm sure. Okay, so there's your 3 Omega healers and your 3 not Omega healers. There's nothing in between. Oh, that's going to get me some hate. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, H-Palace. Are you mad at me? I don't know. Am I right, though? Oh, here's the last one. Here's the middle healer. Our Shaman. There you go. Somebody to bridge the gap between the treated nicely and the treated poorly. Our Shaman has fantastic throughput and will only get better as the expansion goes on because they'll get so much mastery, and when people get low, they can top them right up because that's what their mastery does. It's great AoE healing with Tide, great AoE healing with Healing Stream. They can get out of bad situations with Ghost Wolf, but it's nothing like the mobility of the top 3. They have fine AoE burst cooldowns with Ascendance into like Spirit Walker's Grace and just casting some healing surges while not being kickable. You could just heal a bunch of people with the Ascendance duplication effect. Link is a nice button. Tremor is a nice button. Knock is really cool. Decent utility. Just not quite the mobility or instant AoE impact as the other 3 healers. And they do have to cast sometimes, which is trouble. If their totems do enough healing, they're in good shape. If they don't, then they might have to cast, and that could be huge trouble. You could definitely swap to an R-Shaman like you could swap to an H-Pal, which would maybe bring it down to B if they're very, very easily killed. But I believe in their ability to trinket wall. And then maybe they're fine. Could be actually that they're kill target, in which case this is going to age really poorly because then they would be just like down here, I guess. But for right now, I'm going to give them the nod at A. And now we have some more tanks. I actually did blood first because of its blood. It's the weirdest thing ever. I had to talk about it first. But now we have the rest of the tanks. Guardian is like S, maybe? God, I think maybe. Okay, well, if this was an RBG tier list, Guardian is S tier. Because it can hold a base, cap a base, spin a team fight forever, and FC. It can do everything, right? So there's objective on bases, there's objective with flag carrying, and there's objective with spinning team fights. And as far as tank goes, Guardian does all of that perfectly. It can cap a base with CC, it can hold a base forever with Brambles and Stealth and Immortality, and it can Moonfire from a distance, and it can clone somebody to get them off of them. It doesn't really have to, because it can just sit there in bear form and press Moonfire and then get to the flag and press Brambles, and that could even spin during Shadowy Duel, so they have an answer against the most broken CC effect in the game. And they can Thrash during Shadowy Duel, and they can Thrash to spin a flag in a team fight, and they can hold the flag, and they can get it across the map because they're near immortal. Guardian S tier. Prot, opposite of S tier. While Guardian has been the premier tank in RBGs for the last 8 years, Prot Warrior has been the premier worst tank in RBGs for the last 8 years. It has no stealth. It cannot capture bases as easily because you have to walk over there as a protection warrior with lugging your big shield around, right? It can't even hold bases as easily because it doesn't have the anti-CC toolkit that the other tanks have. It doesn't have as good mobility as Vengeance because it literally just got power crept by Vengeance. Isn't that funny? Warriors can leap, but Demon Hunters can leap twice, and they can do it on a much shorter cooldown. So you have Warrior Leap is a great utility mobility option until you realize that a tank has 2 of them on a half cooldown. Oh my goodness. Prot Warrior is just power crept by everything else. It does no damage. It has a bad utility. I mean, cool, you have Shockwave, but like, let's be real. If an AoE stun is what you're bringing to a team fight, there are so many classes that can do that so much better. Prot Warrior is not good at FC, and you would just be hindering your team because you die easier than the other tanks. Your self-healing is actually bad, so while Blood DK could just self-heal off of a guy chasing them and be able to line his healers for a little bit, if their healers are getting CC'd, he can self-heal. Prot Warrior has traditionally not had good self-healing, and doesn't have as good self-healing as Guardian either, or as tankiness as Guardian in a RBG situation. This is all subject to change with hero talents, but this is a safe bet. Brewmaster has better utility. God, Brewmaster has much better than utility than Prot. It could be B, but... Okay, I'm doing this. Don't tell anybody from the Esprit section that I moved theirs down. They can't move, man. They can't move. They can't sit a base. They can't get to a base. They can't... C-tier Esprits. I was talking about Brewmaster. Brewmaster has utility. Like Zenmed, it's done crazy things with that. It can cap a base with all these weird like knock effects and clash and stun and para. It can CC pretty decently and survive at a base pretty decently and spin a brace pretty decently and FC pretty decently with double roll. Oh, fine. Whoops, too far. Oh, fine. It has double roll port. It can actually do port play. If you have the flag in your hands, you can still port. So you can just like run underneath Twin Peaks down to the water and then port back up. And if everybody follows you down, you just screwed over your entire melee that are now like, wait, I'm down here and he's up there. It can FC okay because of all that. It's still pretty squishy in prior iterations of the game, but hero talents plus tank, maybe it's not squishy anymore. Its mobility is very good. Its utility is good. It has team-wide defensives. Zenmed, again, I'm not sure if that's back in the game, but if it is, it's this really powerful redirect spell effect. It could be A. I'm going to put it B because like Guardian exists and Vengeance exists. Yeah, this is perfect. Guardian S, Vengeance A, Brewmaster B. Prot Pally D. No, Prot Pally C because it could sit a base, right? What? No, it's not as bad. Prot Pally D because it can capture a base now, can't it? Does it have rep? 4 seconds. Oh my god, I would put Prot Pally C. It has like ways of capturing bases and ways of holding it because it has immunities. And it can run the flag slightly better than Prot Warrior because of Super Freedom Steed. Oh my god, it's C. There's like a tank on every... I promise. Oh my god, I didn't plan this. Yeah. Yeah, it's better than Prot Warrior. It can sit bases, it can cap bases, it can spin nodes, it has better utility, it has better mobility, it can immune people, it has queens to immune people even further, it can bubble on a flag so it doesn't get CC capped on. That's gross. There's one tank at every tier. You can't make this up. Wow. Truth is stranger than fiction. This is my tier list. That's it. Whew. I struggled with some of these. So if you want to make your case for the ones... Oh, augmentation is question mark tier. We've never seen RBGs really be popular when augmentation was in the game. It was in the game for 1/2 of an expansion and RBGs were really unpopular. So I don't have anything to base it off of, and BG Blitz has less people, so less people to buff. It's not fantastic at 2v2s. It's very bad at 1v1s, I would say, because it's not buffing anybody. It's question mark. You could put it at B, but it's just question mark. I don't even have the icon on here. There you go. If you have a good argument for any of these, please. This was so hard. Just put it in the comments, and I would love to hear it. I look at this though, and it feels good. I don't know, man. It really feels good after all of that debilitating decision making. It actually looks like a BG Blitz tier list. Tell me what you think. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my struggling as I tried to play something, or my joy as I found the right spot for something. And thank you so much for watching my videos and for suggesting this one. I had so much fun. I really felt like laughter bubbling up as I thought about all this stuff again. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to make content in this game for you guys. I will see you in the next one.